My name is Paul Luna, and you're tuned into F&B Lunacy. I am here today with Chef Mark Nanna. Chef, what's happening? Where are you?
My wife and I are living in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. That's where my wife grew up. My own personal cooking, I've trended into being a vegan over the last few years, and I'm constantly experimenting with different ways to make the things that I sort of either miss or want to see replicated in a sort of a plant-based variation. One of the things about the plant-based component of our industry, with the food science has come along to a degree now that I mean, it's probably easier than ever, than it's better than it's ever been to switch over for a lot of different reasons. But they've gotten a lot of the things that were always sort of lacking, now with the Beyond Foods, Impossible Foods. Their hamburger variant it's pretty damn close to being, what you remember a hamburger to taste like. Cheese was always the big sticking point for a lot of plant-based things, and vegan cheeses have come so far now, where before it was sort of just, white stuff that wouldn't melt that made you think you were eating cheese. Like now now they're kind of nailing it. Like there's some vegan cheeses out there from certain companies that you can just cut it and it tastes like cheddar. I haven't gotten to try blue cheese yet. That's one I'm actually really curious, but I've seen a couple on the market. I just haven't run across them yet. But yeah,
I saw something similar that you did, I think. It looked like pork belly.
Yeah, I did. I just last week. That's been one of my recent experiments. There's a few different YouTube channels I like to follow. A couple TikTok channels that are throwing good ideas out there, and I sort of approach it like, with my experience and knowledge from before. How can I look at these, some professional, some not professional chefs, but look at what they did and how can I make that, refine it a little bit. Like anything else, anytime we try to do something, we take it like, that's really good. How am I going to fix what I didn't do right this time and make it a little bit better? So I look at it with an eye for refining. The pork belly actually is really interesting. It's the starch water after you wash flour to make seitan. It's the starch water that's left, and you get as much water out of that with as much settled starch. And it's it's legitimate. Looks like pork belly, tastes pretty good. Texturally, it's not bad. And again, if you cut it up and fry it up in fried rice, or I use them for banh mi's. You're none the wiser, really. You're not going to fool a meat eater into thinking they just had pork belly, but you might fool a vegan into thinking they remember how that was. And yeah, it was pretty impressive. Again, I see these things where I'm impressed with what they've done, and I go, well, let me try it. And then if I'm really impressed with that, I try it again to see if I can refine it a little bit better, get the flavors a little bit better, or what I think are better. That's it. That's been the fun experiment for me, taking the knowledge I have and trying to reapply it to something different, something new.
There is a trend currently of chefs, front of the house, back of the house, not returning to work.
Yeah.
What is your take on it?
I mean, I think the industry, the industry was already, it's really strange. For the last few years, I think the industry had already been trending to a place where, some old timers like yourself and myself, like we came up at a time where, we got the hell beat out of us for, just to get to the point where we could take over a kitchen, where we would be, with the right mentality to be able to run a kitchen. In my opinion, probably for the worse, but the trend in kitchens here more in the last 5 or so years has been kinder, gentler kitchens, more humane kitchens to fellow employees and all that. And I'm not one of these old grumpy dudes that's like, oh, these kids can't take it. But the reality is somewhere in there, we probably should have figured out a long time ago that it isn't sustainable to act like that, that rough, grumpy chef. Like that doesn't really work. It not only do you make other people feel bad that you beat up, but you're beating yourself up as much as you're beating the other person up when you act like that. And so I think the industry had already been trending sort of to be a little different. I think just in general, the way that the world works, things shift and change, and the industry had already started to have a little bit of a shift. And now with COVID, I think the seismic shift of a lot of places, maybe there's a lot of places that'll get weeded out because they just, say they aren't good enough, but maybe they're not sustainable enough to be able to move with the times. I think we're going to end up seeing a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of chefs move into different possibilities, and it's a hard life, as you know. And I think you're going to see a lot of folks kind of I actually enjoyed making this thing in my home kitchen. Maybe I can put a label on it and sell it. Maybe I can make a bunch of jelly and take it to the farmer's market or something, or maybe I can do a thing, which I have to say I've thought of myself,